So, I've got two things I want to tackle today. It's been kind of wacky, but I'm pretty happy with what has happened this week in terms of getting things done and things that have transpired in odd ways. So, I'm standing up because I think my energy is better when I'm standing up, and because I want to try and turn my camera. Oh, hey, Iris. Sorry we got screwed up. Why can I never figure out how to turn my camera? I think they must have changed something. There we go. Okay, so I thought the first thing I'd talk about were I put up a picture of two of these pullovers. These are yoke pullovers. I don't really do yokes, and so I put there's three of them, and I've put the middle one. I just love those. What are they called? I don't know. Plumes. We'll call them plumes. So I've used them differently. And in the body, I put them randomly, although it's not random at all, so that the body isn't just plain. And so the sequence of these plumes goes around the body. And then up here, after the sweater is joined, the plumes change size in order to accommodate the shaping. And I did do German short rows, and you can see in the back here that it's considerably longer in the back because I did German short rows. But what happened, and one of the things I would change if I were to redo this, is the neck is wide. And so I would like it to have come, a little bit closer and to have had more coverage on the shoulders. But I've always thought it was pretty good looking. And you can see on the underarm, so I just did this trim slightly different than on the bottom because you're obviously seeing sleeves more than you see the bottom. So the bottom is a little simplified. And when I show you the complete pattern, it features these little boblets. And so I came up with a way to do the boblets in the cast on, or in the row after the cast on. So they look like they're at the bottom, but they aren't actually at the bottom. And so I was going to show you that you can see the underarm shaping. And as I recall, this is a 7-stitch repeat, so you have 6 pearls and this twisted rib. I consider it the third piece. I'm not going to try and put it on her, but so this is the stitch pattern that got it all started. Do I have a pin nearby? I do. And so it's got this garland and these baubles and these little plumes, and I'm pretty sure it was just this, and I added that, excuse me. So this one it's been wrinkled up in the laundry bin, but the contractor has been here and they undid my washer dryer, so couldn't wash it. So it has the pattern at the bottom along with these baubles and a little ribbing, but it's got a whole body of pearl stitches, which I know for people who don't like to purl, that's really seems horrible, but the payoff is that the entire inside is stockinette, which is so much smoother than pearl. So that's where my spot is, right there. And so that's the benefit. You can see I've actually worn this. It needs to be tidied up a bit. And then I figured at the time that not everyone, sorry, I'm probably making you sick. Let me put this down for just a second. And for some reason, my stand isn't cooperating. So this is the most basic because I figured, well, not everyone wants to do all that stitch work. So just searching out a pin here and then I'll show it to you. So this is just the 7-stitch rib repeat. I put the baubles at the beginning, and on this one I used a contrast yarn, and then I end with the same baubles And I have I-cords so you can tighten up the neck, because we had discovered that the necks were kind of wide. And I could do a whole class on why they were too wide. So again, the sleeve shaping is done. And I would say I use this in a class, or this series in a class, and several people tried on my sweaters of different sizes, and I probably would make the arms wider if I did it over again, just because now I know. Oh, and I'm missing an I-cord. Hopefully that will turn up. I think I had it earlier, so it must have fallen out. So, but because of the way we develop knitwear, we're kind of doing it at the same time as we're writing the pattern and everything. And there's really not a lot of time for modifying your design. So, again, I would fill in this neck shoulder area. And I suspect you can see right here where the short rows end. And I probably needed to put in like a full another series of short rows. And it's quite lovely on the back where, there's many rows of short rows. And while the green one here's the sleeve on the green one, is really lovely and has the whole pattern. If I were to do this one over, I think I'd do 2 repeats of the garland. It's called the garland stitch in the yoke. And the reason I didn't was because of the underarm split, and I didn't want to make the yoke too long, but I think now I would just carry on. And I worked from the bottom up, so I could have done it and done it at the top of the sleeve as well. So anyhow, that's those patterns. And you probably know I don't usually work top down because it breaks my brain to have to do all that shaping at the very beginning. I found an unbelievably large cache of postcards. There it is. I have probably the same amount downstairs in the living room. So I don't know what that painting is. Let's see if I can get it so I can read the back. It's from the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and it was painted by Antonio Mancini, Italian, 1852 to 1930, and it was painted in 1879. And if you know Spanish or Italian, Il Saltimbanco, whatever that means. Hi, Brandon. But it's quite taken with that. So that's my postcard on my desk for this week. And so see if I can turn the camera again. And now I'm sitting down because I've been standing up in the kitchen. I'm wearing my summer apron, and in the hopes that I don't get anything on my clothes before my guests arrive at 6. So I had promised that we would deal with works in progress or unfinished objects, depending on whether you carbon date them or not. And since they're sitting on the floor here by my desk, I'm going to, just a sec, maybe if I tighten that. We're not going to make any judgments today. We're just, that's why it's so unstable. Okay, so I just want to tackle, how do you decide? So 7th on Sale was a sale that 7th Avenue, or the fashion industry, did. They did several of them in New York, I think at the Armory, to raise money for AIDS. So this is from 1992, I think. And they did one sale in San Francisco, and that's where this was from. And it was just a complete fucking frenzy. I got a beautiful Jeffrey Bean outfit. It was 2 pieces. He was very architectural. It was black and white. I loved it. I used to wear it to like fancy dress things. People always looked at me like I was nuts because it wasn't fancy, although it did have silk file on it. So I remember I got that. It seems to me I got one other thing, but you just like had to take your clothes off in public to try things on. I do hope I remember what else, because I always loved the pieces. So the Jeffrey Bean was like a size 8, and let's just say I probably wore it until I was in my 50s. Yep, I gave it away. So this is my first, I would say it's more a UFO than a work in progress at this point. So it's made from a yarn that I really love, which is called Civility. It's dyed by my friend Jean DeCoster, and Jean just was able to dye solid colors in a way that they were still interesting but were not kettle dyed. I think they were technically kettle dyed. So let's see. This is a cardigan, and so I really hate working stockinette. And this is tons of stockinette. I put a panel of seed stitch on the back and of moss stitch, and the inside hem is seed stitch, and you knit the hem and then you knit the outside hem and you pick it up, and so it's all one piece. So I done this cardigan in fingering weight yarn, and it's a little heavy in, I think this is sport, but I literally put this aside because of the intarsia from working in the round. And at some point, I thought it just doesn't look good enough along the edges. But now I look at it, I think it looks fine, except right here where I joined the yarn, and I can certainly fix that. And so it is, I'll take this off. It is worked in the round all the way. So I have used these thread markers, and this is actually the armhole where it will be steeked. And it looks like there's a big little knot there. Or, oh, I just joined yarn. That won't make any difference. And so it doesn't have a dropped front neck. It just goes straight up. And then it looks like I was doing a roll trim. And so now I'm looking at this, and I don't have any problems with this except for I wish I'd done, well, it looks like I did do some, now I didn't shaping, but I don't think it's enough shaping to get a really nice armhole curve. And, Jesus. Okay, so this is what you have to do when you're looking at this. So I can, I, of course, have a form that I can fill out. So I have 2 of these cardigans. Oh my God. So I'm writing that this is civility version. And so this form is for picking something back up. So here it is. The first thing I'm going to have to do, I guess I'm steeking. Maybe this is a pullover and not a cardigan. That makes sense of why I have 2. And you can really see here that it's got a really flat armhole instead of being a curve. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make some notes here. And I, of course, have a place for making notes. So I'm going to say rip back to armhole bind off and redo the armhole shaping. Fortunately, I have not done the sleeves because I hate doing sleeves. So now I can make the sleeves match the new armhole. And then all I have to do is knit up to the neck and finish the neck. That's pretty cool. And I'm wondering, I think I have some of that pale green that I used on the back. Okay, so that's where, so I need to find pale green. I think this color, this body color is called mushroom. I'm sorry, I love colors like that. And, but I think that that's a really good choice of how to fix this and get this back on track. So I'm knitting a pullover right now, and I know that on the number of stitches that I have, which is 242 on the pullover, that it's in a pattern, it takes me about 10 minutes to do a row. So just looking at this, I can figure that I probably have like 7 inches of rows. And let's say that there's 5.5, so 7 times 5.5. It's too late in the day for me to do that without my calculator. So I have 38 rows to do, plus the trim and the shoulder shaping. So we'll just say that it takes me 10 minutes to do a row. It won't, but I always like to think about how long it's going to take me. So if I multiply 38 by 10, it's going to get me 380. And if I divide 380 by 10, it's going to take me, is that what I know? 380 divided by 60, it is 6 hours of knitting. That seems like a lot, but it's probably half that for a round because I don't have as many stitches. Let's say 7 minutes. So I always figure out how long it's going to take me, because better to be horrified than to be working on it, and it really did take 6 hours. So here's something else. So eventually I'll join the shoulders from the front and the back, and I can see here that I've got like a front roll and a back roll, and I really need to do it in the round. So I'm going to make a note here, do neck roll in the round. ITR is my abbreviation. So now I can go through, and then I'll just put sleeves. So first thing I'm going to have to do is, this has probably been sitting for, we'll say 5 years, but it may be longer. Think about whether I need a larger upper arm than I did when I commenced this project. And that will be somewhat mitigated by me cutting the armhole. So I shouldn't get into too much trouble. My arm is really not as that much bigger than it used to be, but I'm old. So that project seems like it could be salvageable. So now this one, it's the same thing. Don't ask me why. I hate doing the same thing twice. So I can remember when Jean mistakenly dyed the yarn this color. And I, of course, love green. She is a beautiful, she had been blonde. She's gray now, but even then, her hair was always like beautiful silver. So we had completely different yarn tastes. So again, I'm working this one in the round, but it is a cardigan, so it's bigger around. And this here is where I'll cut it, I'll steek it to make it into a cardigan. And so I did a couple of things different. I had lots of different small pieces of this yarn. So I just striped the inside. Not sure I have any of this blue anymore. And then I didn't like the way it looked on the mushroom one. So I did some seed stitch here just so that the transition looks more natural. And then I did the same thing up here where I transitioned into a different color. And again, I'm doing the same intarsia method. So the problem with intarsia when you're working in the round, hey Anne-Marie, is you do your color over to here, you pick up your other color and you come around and the color's over here and not over here. So I short row it by doing, let's see if I can explain this without breaking my brain. So I go across to where I would drop the color, but instead I wrap them and I work back, and then I work back again, pick up the main color and work around. And so you're not really working in the round. You're doing a lot of back and forth, which, then that begs, why are you working in the fucking round to begin with? But I had all of this up to there. And now that I'm looking at it, and I didn't do, I did do this. So I did seed stitch along the edge. What's that? just a fleck. So any irregularity is, I always say I'm a big cheater when I knit. I'll do anything to. So I have a whole bunch of the yarn over there, and I only have this turquoise and the green, and then this. I've got this other kind of olive green and a yellow. So I think what I might do is, instead of making this a solid block in the back, is to do some sort of color thing. And I think I'll just do stripes to keep it straight. Okay, so this one also doesn't have sleeves. And so this one is going to be called King's Road. And I think this is Cormo. And so, yeah, I actually didn't do seed stitch. I just did garter up the side seam. I always like to kind of have a side seam even if there isn't. And it makes it really easy to carry rows. So I'm gonna have to block the hell out of these because of this doubled hem. And if I really smash the inside, it should be flatter than it is right now, because remember what we see here. God knows how many stitches I have here. And have to find the pattern. These probably will take me all of 10 minutes per row. So this one's going to take quite a bit longer to finish, and I have to do sleeves. I'm going to just write sleeves, add color, change armhole, and that's really it. So that's it as far as the knitting. And then you have to think about, like, and that's the finishing. So at some point, when I put these labels on it, I thought I would work on this in December. Who knows what year? I wisely did not put that. So what I was thinking I would do, I'm working on this pullover. That's a new pattern, so I need to make progress on that. But I do get kind of bored because I'm working on it like for 2 full hours a night. So I was thinking I would maybe work on it for an hour and a half and then spend a half an hour or so on one of these projects. But then the other question that you always have to get to is, do you want to finish this at all? Do you even care anymore? And I have to tell you, I'm kind of two minds about this. My back hurts. So I'm just going to lean back against my lumbar cushion here. That's something I need to think about, is I could just turn these into yarn, do something else, or I could just say fuck it and throw them out. Jean isn't even in business anymore. And so I think as I go through these projects, I need, looking for a piece of paper. Okay, I need to have some sort of rating. Like, does this project, let's see, do I really want this project? And maybe it should just be, I really want this project. And let's say that's a number 5. I have 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0 is no. Let's unwind it. Okay. So that's 0. And then up to 5 is I really want to finish this project. So what would be like stages in between? Number 4 is going to say still pretty interested. 3 will be on the fence. So I could go either way. 2 would be interest, and T-E-R-E-S-T is flagging, and not sure I have the interest. And then 0 is just undo it. And I have to tell you, on both of these projects, I'm thinking I'm just going to undo them because I think I would be happier with something else in the yard. So right now, I'm going to put in the corner of my sheets for each of them. I'm going to give it, so on the green one, I'm going to definitely give it a 1. And on the mushroom one, I'm going to give it a 2. And so maybe when I wake up in the middle of the night, I will think instead what I could do with the yarn if I unwound it. Because as I look over at my projects, my UFOs, or works in progress. It kind of doesn't make sense. So I have another project I can go. This one we can eliminate really quickly. So this is just the yarn. So I have like the body of a cardigan up to the armhole, which was knitted by my knitter. So I'd have to probably rip back because our gauge might not, at least a little bit. So here's the thing. Somebody wanted me to make this, a yarn company wanted me to make this in a large size. I hate the color because I don't like blue. I cannot imagine having to sit and make this cardigan that I don't want to make in this yarn. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 skeins of it that haven't even been touched. They're just, this is a wonderful yarn, wonderful company, but I just wasn't that interested. And it was one of those things that they said, shit in my hair. I really want that sweater, but I want a V-neck. That's not what I designed. Iris, do you want this yarn? I would be so happy to give it to you. It's really wonderful and soft. I've got your address. It's going to you. Okay, so that one, I'm not taking notes on that, nothing. And then I'm just going to do one. Oh, no, it's almost 5. And I do have guests coming at 6. So this is a piece that I love, and it took way more yarn than I thought. So that's the back, and it's got this wonderful embossed begonia pattern, and I adore begonias. But okay, so I'm looking at this, you can't fucking see it. So then it goes with this. And it is really a very striking, I've knit this like 3 times, thing. But as I look at it, and so this is, it's like a shawl thingy. So we'll do that one another day. But I think that the begonia is just not right in that yarn because it's beautiful yarn, but it's got so much variation in the green that you can't really see it. It might, in fact, be lovely in mushroom. So I guess next weekend I'm going to have to get out my ball winder and my Swift and start. Which color combo, Anne-Marie? You could have yarn coming to you too, but you got to tell me. I probably have your address as well. Just turning it back into yarn that I can use for something else, or pass on to some other deserving knitter. And, one of my things is I just have too much stuff in my studio. I have too many things going on and just not getting quite as much knitting time as I used to. Oh, yeah. Well, I need to send you. I was going to say, I'm not going to give that to you anyhow. But yeah, I actually bought it. What year if we got married in 1988, what year would we have been celebrating our 35th wedding anniversary? Whatever year it was, I bought that yarn and I got the green because I wanted to buy yarn from this yarn dyer that I had mentored. And she didn't really have any. She does very intense color, and I wanted to do, it was the jade anniversary, I think, so I was looking for jade, so I bought that. She dyed me some more yarn, but it doesn't really match. But I actually have a lot of the Cormo in fingering from Jean, and it's in bright colors, and I could totally do the shawl in that. So anyhow, I need to wrap this up because how did you like your martini? I'm looking forward to mine. We have friends coming over and they really like my martinis. So I'm doing heavy hors d'oeuvres because none of us eat as much as we used to. So instead of doing dinner, and I have probably one of the best classic cheesecakes I've ever made, that I have a few pieces of that left. And so I'm making one of those Georgian cheese boats. Have you ever seen those? It's just like pizza dough with a cheesy center that you break off pieces of the boat and dip in the yarn. It's delicious. And I'm making an onion tart, and that I'm doing it in my cast iron skillet, and then you invert it so that it's like an upside down cake. And I've got a little bit of, you would be welcome, Iris, but I think it would be cold by the time you got here. I've got some ricotta that I made a couple of weeks ago that I need to get rid of, so I'm going to stuff that in. Ooh, Anne Marie says we have a brand new fancy wine bar in our tiny town. It's my new favorite place. Yay for you. So I have some figs or dried figs. I'm going to put some ricotta in them. Oh, and then I'm just going to do a caprese salad, tomatoes and mozzarella, because we're at the beginning of tomato season. I think I'm still getting hothouse tomatoes, but at least they're using heirlooms. And Jill's bringing some cream cheese coffee cake or something that she made. So we will have plenty of food. We will enjoy our martinis. And if I'm lucky, I'll get to open that bottle of Zinfandel that I bought. Mitch does not approve. And I could write a book about this escapade, but let's just say we have made no progress this week. But there's been a lot of action, no progress. So he had a lovely nap while I cooked, and I'm hoping the electrician and contractor have left my front hall, run the Swiffer across the construction paper on the floor. So Jill and Chris have been friends. Mitch has actually known them longer than he's known me. So they are always forgiving, and they just got back from China, so we're going to hear about their trip. So thank you. I'm like so psyched that I get to tear out 2 projects. I guess the choice has been made, hasn't it? I do think I'll try on the mushroom one just to see. Bye.